here to this important meeting tonight. I'm a convert to the cause of independence, and I would like to begin by telling you something of the political journey which brought me to this destination. I come from a Labour background. In fact, I was virtually born and brought up in the Labour Party. My granddad was one of the first founding members of the first branch of the Labour Party to be founded in the county of Fife, just on the other side of the water. And my granddad wasn't actually born in Scotland. He was born in Ireland, and he came over here with his family. He was the youngest of a family of 11, and I suppose they were what nowadays would be called economic migrants. They were looking for work, and there were jobs aplenty at that time in the coal fields of Fife. And I dare say that there are many people in Tranent and elsewhere in the mining communities of East Lothian who could, the families could tell a similar story. My granddad went to school in Cowdenbeath, left school at the age of 10. At that time there was an Act of Parliament which said that you couldn't work underground until the age of 12, so granddad had to get another job for a couple of years before starting at the ripe old age of 12 to work underground in the pit. And what was it that these socialist pioneers were campaigning for? You know, when I think of it, Grandad and many of his comrades, they spent their whole working life working to improve things for their fellow workers and their fellow citizens. They were fighting for basic things like the right to work, the right to a decent wage, the right to a roof over their heads, the right to educational opportunity for their children, the right to a health service freely available at the time of need. And what was it that drove them? It was a hunger, always a hunger, sometimes a hunger for, well, fire in the belly hunger, but always there was that hunger too for social justice. That was their driving force, and that is the same driving force which drives many people in the Yes Scotland campaign today. And when we look around, Scotland today, there is a distinct lack of social justice in our country, to an extent that the politicians should be ashamed. I mean, we've got a situation here in Scotland alone where 1 in 5 children suffer from child poverty. Over 70,000 of our people are dependent upon food banks, and of course we've got this iniquitous bedroom tax which is causing misery to many families. I used to think that the solution to problems like that was the return of a Labour government at Westminster committed to raising the standards of social justice, but I'm afraid I've come to the conclusion that Labour has lost its way, maybe even lost its soul. I sometimes turn on the telly and look at my old workplace, and I see the leader of the opposition, Ed Miliband, and I listen to some of the things that he says, and I just shake my head, because all he seems to be offering is another brand of austerity, a continuation of the benefit cap introduced by the Tories. In fact, he's going one better or one worse by announcing that when he gets power, he's going to be cutting the benefits for young people who have been deprived of the right to work, and they're claiming that they have to have this because we cannot afford otherwise. And yet the same man is supporting the Tory government spending of billions of pounds on weapons of war and mass destruction. And planning to spend even more billions on the replacement of the Tranent nuclear weapon. So I've come to the conclusion that changing the occupancy of 10 Downing Street is not going to bring about the fundamental radical change which I would like to see, and which I believe the majority of the people of Scotland would like to see. I have no faith in the constitutional status quo. I'm not therefore saying that independence is some kind of panacea which is going to solve everything overnight. But I do believe, honestly, that independence is an opportunity, a massive opportunity, a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to bring about the type of change which the people of Scotland want to see. I said earlier that I'm a convert to the cause of independence, and my conversion is not due to any emotional experience, it's due mainly to my life experience, particularly my parliamentary experience. 26 years at Westminster, followed by 8 years in the Scottish Parliament. I've been retired now for 7 years, and retirement, as some of you will know, it gives you time to think, time to reflect. And after a great deal of thinking and reflection, I have come to the conclusion that Westminster is completely out of touch with the people of Scotland. Whereas the Scottish Parliament is not perfect, but by and large, I believe that the Scottish Parliament has shown in the 15 years of its existence that it responds far more positively and far more directly to the values, the needs, the wishes and the aspirations of the people of Scotland. And let me give a few examples just to justify that statement. Students going to university in Scotland pay no tuition fees south of the border. After a 4 years course, they could be lumbered with a debt of £36,000. Imagine that kind of millstone of debt around the necks of your sons or daughters or grandsons and granddaughters. Again, look at the care of senior citizens. The package of care which some of these people require in the community, the nursing element and personal element of that care is free, whereas south of the border, people have to pay for that. So that, to my mind, shows higher standards of social justice. Look at our National Health Service. And our National Health Service is still in Scotland the property of the people, and it is still freely available at the time of need, whereas south of the border is being more and more privatised, and the people who require it, people who are sick, are having to pay over £8 per item in prescription charges. So these are just some examples of the positive achievements of the Scottish Parliament to raise the standards of social justice. But the powers of the Scottish Parliament at present are very, very limited. Most of the big decisions, the big political and the big economic decisions are still taken at Westminster. So, I say to myself and I say to you, that if the Scottish Parliament had the powers of an independent Parliament, powers, for example, over defence and foreign affairs, then we would be able to decide whether or not we want to spend billions of pounds on weapons of war and mass destruction, or get ourselves involved in illegal warfare in Iraq or anywhere else. And if the Scottish Parliament had powers of the financial institutions, we'd be able to stop bankers filling their pockets with big fat bonuses while bringing the country to the brink of economic disaster. And if the Scottish Parliament had powers over tax and national insurance, we'd be able to introduce a fair, progressive system of taxation, and also a much fairer system of benefits, including the complete abolition of this evil bedroom tax, which would never, never have seen the light of day in an independent Scotland. So I see independence not as an end in itself. I see it as a means towards creating a better Scotland. Yes, a more prosperous Scotland, but also a much fairer Scotland. Finally, I'd just like to say a few words about Yes Scotland, because I chair the advisory board of Yes Scotland. Yes Scotland is a broad campaign consisting of people of various backgrounds, various political parties, and people like myself who are not members of any political party at all. Some people claim that we're just a front for the SNP, which is a lot of nonsense, but it's sometimes difficult trying to persuade people otherwise. I came across a woman the other day there, and she voted for me. She was a traditional Labour voter, but I must say that when I became an independent candidate for the Scottish Parliament, she still supported me. But when I asked her initially about voting yes in the referendum, she said, oh no, this is a step too far. She says, she can't seriously ask me to vote for that man Alex Salmond or to vote for the SNP. My father would kill me. I said, well, for a start, Janet, your father's been dead for over 20 years. And also, I'm not asking you to vote for any one person, and I'm not asking you to vote for any political party. I am asking you to vote for a better Scotland for you and for your children and for your grandchildren. Another question which I've often asked is, can we win? Well, I remember 2 years ago when our campaign was first launched, the opposition, they thought at first that they didn't really have to fight a serious campaign, you know, they were so complacent and so full of overconfidence that they said we had no chance. Well, I said at the time, although we were well behind in the opinion polls at that time, I said this campaign is going to be more like a marathon than a short sprint. And I can tell you, having run more than a few marathons in my day, sometimes you see a guy in front of you in the race, but the guy in front of you, even as you're approaching the final straight, that guy isn't necessarily going to be ahead of you at the finishing tape. And I honestly believe that we have the stamina, the guts and the determination. We have an army of volunteers who within the next 4 weeks are going to show that we have the most comprehensive, the most efficient, grassroots, community-based campaign that Scotland has ever seen. And we're going to take our message out. We're going to take our message out to win the hearts and minds of the people of Scotland throughout every community in Scotland. We'll take our positive message out to every city, every town, every village, every school gate, every street, every workplace, every home in Scotland. And our positive message is this, that it's only by voting yes in this referendum that the people of Scotland will be empowered to build a new Scotland, a more prosperous Scotland, a fairer Scotland, and a Scotland that will take its place in the international community to help to build a better world. That is our positive message. And when we succeed in getting that message out to the people of Scotland and win their hearts and minds, then we shall win a famous and historic victory. So I say to the people of Tranent and the rest of East Lothian, let's cover it!
Thanks for that, Dennis. That was fantastic. That was really good. And I'm delighted that the panel, as I say,